Hello, how are you? Shall we study Bible together? Now we're studying right now is Mark chapter 5 verse 1 through 20. We're studying about the Jesus ministry, and last week we studied that he was on the shore of the Lake Galilee, and a big crowd was gathered and waiting for Jesus. But then Jesus left them at the shore, and then he right on the boat together with his disciple. And then Jesus intended to cross the lake and for evangelism. That he decided to go together with his disciple on the boat, and then the storm came and they almost died, but with the power of Jesus that he come down the storm. And now that's what the story happens last week. Now we are going to learn today that what happens after Jesus arrived in the other side of the lake. Let's read from the Mark chapter 5 verse 1. Then they went across the lake to the region of Gerasene. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an impure spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. Now, when Jesus came to the other side, there's an evil spirit possessed man that came. Now, the Greek word used here is this man is like as Jesus came out from the boat, he kind of ran to Jesus, or like he kind of was right there, and this evil spirit possessed man. Now, that's a very strange things that this guy's there. Now, this region is actually it's like a mixture of the Gentile and then also the Jewish people live together in that area. So there's lots of Jews and then lots of Gentiles, mostly Greek people live there. And then this evil possessed man lived that area too. And then this guy lived in a tomb. Now that's a very strange place to live, but that's where he was. And then because of the result of possessed by devil, that this guy lived in a tomb, and then apparently people tried to chain him, but he's out of the chain, and he kind of broke the chain. And that's kind of a strange situation here. Now let me show you in the map where Jesus is. Now this is Lake Galilee. And now he was in a Capernaum area, and he crossed the lake. Now he probably came this area right here, in this area to Gerasene, and then that's where he is. Okay, so that's where the whole thing's happening. Now, in verse 4 and 5, the Mark described more detail about the condition of this evil spirit possessed man. Let's read in verse 4 and 5. For he had often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chain apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day, among the tombs and in the hills, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. Wow, that's very strange. Now, this guy, because of the evil spirit possessed on him, he have a very, abnormal power that he has. And apparently the people in the village thought this guy is very dangerous and very kind of scary. So that they tried to chain him. Probably the young man in a village came and they maybe chained him a few times, and then he was chained to something. But then this guy, he broke the chain with his abnormal power, and then he's really wandering around the day and night. He's screaming, and probably he's suffering, his pain or suffering, and most of all he's injuring himself with a stone. And one word to describe the condition of this man is he seems very, very miserable. Due to the evil possession, this guy is really out of his control, out of his mind, and this guy's really in a miserable conditions, and he's screaming, and probably because of pain and suffering. This guy's screaming day and night. Now that's it's kind of scary too, and then also the people in the village hate this guy and or afraid of him. So no one really tried to save him, and that was the situation of this guy. Now, what happened after this? And verse 6 and 7. Let's read. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of Most High God? In God's name, don't torture me." For Jesus had said to him, "Come out of this man, you impure spirit." Apparently, this guy who was possessed by evil spirit, he ran to Jesus and asking for help, basically. But then Jesus saw this guy, and he realized that this man is possessed by evil spirit. So Jesus tell the evil spirit, "Come out from this man." There's a few things interesting is when this guy came and he started to kind of bow down in front of Jesus. That is really like acting like a worshiping Jesus, and that is really the worship is, according to the Bible, is only being done to God. So this seems to indicate that this evil spirit possessed man they realized that Jesus is divine, and also what the devil said about that, don't judge him or don't cast out from this, some places. That is really indicate that God is the only one can judge. So this evil spirit and this possessed man treat Jesus as God, and that's one thing that we can tell. And also, the one thing I can say is the evil spirit, they know Jesus very, very well. They know who Jesus is. They know Jesus is God and who became a man. So they make sure that the one thing they wanted to do is that they want people to not to believe in Jesus, because they will try to do anything, and they knew themselves that Jesus is God. And the other things we can tell, as Jesus said to this man, this actual evil spirit that came out from this man, we can tell that this man and the evil spirit is two different person, and like a two person in one body. It seems like. So often when we see that somewhat abnormal person, we judge that person is a very kind of abnormal or like a maybe crazy person. But the fact is that often the evil spirit may possibly play the role there. And there's clearly in this case that we can see the evil spirit and this man, two are different. And it's almost like a two-person living in one place. So if I describe what the evil spirit possession means, like probably the best description that I can explain is by using the some story, like a well-known fable story called Cinderella. In case of Cinderella, as you may recall, that Cinderella was born in a very wealthy parents, but then the mom died, and the Cinderella lived with her father. But then her father eventually married to a new mother, and this this mother, the new mother, who are not related to Cinderella. After Cinderella's father died, this new mother, and together with her two daughters, the Cinderella, the stepsisters, they treat Cinderella like a slave. So Cinderella was made it to act like a slave in her own house, and that is a really like evil possessed person, like a person's being treated like a slave. due to the evil spirit possessed a person, and the evil spirit is become like a boss on the house, so that the person became a slave in their own house. And that is a really situation in the evil spirit situation. So I guess this is a two-person living in one body. So when the Jesus came, this guy was so desperate that he ran to Jesus, and because it's very strange that I don't think the evil spirit wanted to see the Jesus, but in this guy, the last hope he had was meet Jesus. And then when the Jesus told evil spirit to came out, there is a mixture that this guy start to worship Jesus, and the evil spirit hate that, apparently. And then when Jesus said to come out from this man, this evil spirit scream and say, "Oh, God, please don't punish us." And that's what the evil spirit said, because evil spirit know who Jesus is, and evil spirit knows he's divine. So basically that seems happening. This man was so miserable, and he was being afraid by village people, and no one able to save him. And he also injured himself. Absolutely miserable conditions. The only hope that this evil possessed man had from the slavery condition was that he will scream to Jesus. And then possibly, I wonder, that Jesus came all the way from the other side, because maybe Jesus heard this guy's scream and a prayer, and Jesus decided to came to save this man. But let's see what happened after this. The verse 9. Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied, "for we are many." And he begged Jesus again and again not to send them out of the area. Now Jesus asked the name to the evil spirit possessed man, and this evil spirit the answer by saying that he's a legion, because there are many. Now this is a very strange conversation. The one thing we can understand from this conversation is evil spirit has a name. So evil spirit, probably each evil spirit has a name. And then Jesus asked evil spirit, "What's your name?" He replied by saying legion, but then this word legion is a very strange way to reply. Almost he didn't really reply to Jesus' answer of the name, because the word legion is not really a name. It's a unit of military. It's the name of the military unit, like a regiment. It's almost like the legion is about the several thousand soldiers unit in Roman soldiers. So it's a big unit. So in English, it's a really equivalent of a regiment that we maybe call. So that is the size. So when the Jesus said to evil spirit, "What's your name?" Instead of answering the Jesus correctly, this evil spirit said, "We're like a big army, and we're like a regiment." That's how they reply, because he's saying that we're many. And also we can tell from this conversation that this evil spirit man was actually, he was fighting against the humongous army of evil spirit. And no way he could have won the battle without Jesus' power. So that was the condition this man was. And we can see that this evil spirit is in the form of the military, and evil spirit, we can tell from this conversation, has some type of military-like organization, and there's many evil spirit can possess in one person. So that is a very kind of scary, but that was things that we can find out from here. Then after this, what happened in verse 11? A large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs. Allow us to go into them." He gave them permission, and the impure spirit came out and went into the pigs. The herd about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Now, what happened was there was 2,000 pigs was nearby the hill. Now, the pigs are considered to be a very unclean animal for Jewish people, but then probably the Gentiles, they ate pigs, so that pigs was somehow was there, and then the evil spirit asked Jesus that they can go into if they can go into these unclean animals. And what's surprising is that there are 2,000 of them, so that at least we can tell that there was more than 2,000 evil spirit in this one man's body. That's amazing, because each pig has a different separate body, so the evil spirit have to possess each one, and so that at least we can tell more than 2,000 evil spirit was in it. So that no wonder he replies saying that he is a legion, which means like a big army. And then after the evil spirit possessed the pig, what happened to the pig was the pig became crazy, and the pig lost their mind, and they actually suicide themselves by rushing to the lake and drown. Normally, animal won't do such a behavior, but then because of the result of an evil spirit possession, the evil spirit made this pig crazy, and this pig killed themselves. That in the 2,000 they died by drowning. That is a very sad, but it's a very scary scene. Now, what happened after this in verse 14 that we can read like this? Those tending the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and countryside, and the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by a legion of demons sitting there, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man, and told about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. Now, that is, what happened was after the 2,000 pigs drowned, actually people tending the pigs, they probably actually eyewitness. They saw what happens, and they are so outstanding, they're so afraid, and so they run back to the village and tell the village people what happens. And a bunch of village people probably came to see the scene, and what they saw was this evil possessed man was sitting very normally, and now this guy is clothed. So before he was probably half naked, I assume, but then now this man became very normal and sitting there. Normally, that's a good news, is it? I mean, now no more these scary persons become harmful to the village, and they don't have to change this guy. But then instead, the village people became very afraid of the whole things, and especially they asked Jesus to leave the town. Now, why they did that? I assume that they probably thought that there's some kind of a economical damage that happened. 2,000 heart of the pig was lost. So they probably afraid that this super-powered Jesus who cast out the devil from this evil possessed man that no one can control, that this super-powered Jesus, he might come to our village and he might do greater damage to us, and maybe he might burn up all our houses or something, and then something bad things may happen to them. So they probably afraid of Jesus and his power, and they asked Jesus to get out from the village. Jesus cast out the evil spirit from this man, but then the people in the village cast Jesus out from their village. That's very sad, but that's what happened to this whole story. Now, so they obviously realized that Jesus is powerful, but these Gentile people, they are afraid of Jesus, so they just cast out Jesus out from their life. Then let's see the verse 18. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him. Jesus did not let him, but said, "Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you, and how he had had mercy on you." So the man went away and began to tell in Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him. And all the people were amazed. Now that is interesting. Now Jesus now went back to the boat, and just as Jesus tried to leave, this evil possessed man, now he become very normal man. That he asked Jesus if he can go with Jesus and he can ride on a boat together with Jesus. But Jesus said, "Why don't you go back to your house and tell your family about what the great things the Lord did." Now, actually Jesus did. So Jesus and the Lord is now Jesus himself indicate that he is Lord. It seems like so that Jesus indicate that how great things the Lord did to you. This man apparently went back to his family and gave the testimony that how great things happens. And not only his family, he apparently went to the village and went to the entire regions of the Decapolis. Decapolis is a much bigger area. So it's almost like this man was saved by Jesus, and he tell his own cities, and he evangelized his city, and then after that he evangelized the entire state or that area. This is a great story. So that is Jesus actually saved only one man when he came to this place, and then he left. But this one man he saved from the evil spirit possession. That this man actually became the great evangelist, I would say. That he tells many people about the Jesus and how great the Jesus did and that God did to him. Now that is the story. Now today's story, Jesus came all the way to this area by riding the boat and only saved one man. But this one man, the evil possessed man, he was suffering. He was possessed by evil, and he was hated by people in the village. People in the village was afraid of this man, and he was being afraid by people and isolated by people. But he had an enormous, abnormal power by the evil spirit. And then after most of all, he lived not in a normal house, but he lived in a tomb. Now, tomb often remind me, like if you look at the tomb with all the rocks, does it remind you like a big city skyscrapers? I mean, the big city had the big tall buildings, and I know. I mean, the tomb is where all the dead people's bodies, the dead people, is there at the tomb. But then the big city is also. Eventually, those people who live in not only city but anywhere in the world, we eventually die. So when we look at the city, except the Christians, that they don't have a life, they also going to die. Most of them actually, other than Christian, they are spiritually dead. And that so when this man live in a tomb, that's almost like people who are actually influenced by evil spirit live in a big city. But anyway, the one thing we can tell, this guy was so miserable because the evil spirit now occupied him, and the evil spirit treat this guy as a slave. And this guy was so miserable, sad, and painful. And because of pain, that these guys have to scream and help, oh Lord, help! And he was screaming day and night and no rest. And he actually injured himself by evil spirit. Evil spirit hate us, especially evil spirit hate we human are made of the image of God. So the evil spirit wanted to destroy us as an image of God. And then this guy was so miserable. And then when he screamed, apparently Jesus heard his scream from the other side of the lake. And he came to save this one man who possessed an evil spirit. Evil spirit, they know Jesus very well. They know Jesus is the divine. And they know Jesus is God. So one thing they try to do is they try to kind of hide themselves. They try to not to. They try to make people believe the evil spirit does not exist. So they hide it, and they wanted to make sure from the behind. They want to make sure that people would not go to Jesus. So what they would do is that they would try to make Jesus look bad. They try to make people fear for Jesus, so they will not come to where the Jesus is. They will tell you something like, oh, Christianity historically did many evil things, or the Christian is evil people as well. They made a lot. They made colonized the other nations, or they will try to say something like, oh, the Christians once made all the slavery. Christians once did all the African people to move. Made African people slave, and they made the plantations in the south and something like that. They use Christianity as a reason and try to make fear that people not come to Jesus. The fact is that people who are possessed by evil spirit, not really people who are possessed by God's spirit did those things, but the people who are really influenced by evil spirit, they did evil things, but then they will try to use their evil spirit, try to use that how I say, fear to capture the people into the slavery. This word fear is a very common tool the evil spirit use. The fear sometimes exists in society. Quite often, like a company, we're so we're fearful that maybe the boss will fire us. So because of that, we're so afraid working at the company. We cannot say whatever we wanted to say, or even we're supposed to say something right things, but with the boss doing something bad or with the company doing something bad, sometimes because of fear, we cannot really say anything. We have to be quiet. There's always some fear. Even the politics, we have some fear in the politics or power game, in any society. Like even like a school, evil spirit use the fear to make people slave. Like they use. Like a bullying others is really using the power and making fear to control us. Some people doing the domestic violence, like sometimes people lost their conscience and they're very, very upset. Now, I just saw the movie called Jesus is My Boss. And that is a movie about the Yakuza. Now, Yakuza is a Japanese organized crime, like a mafia. And this is the Yakuza who became a Christian. That's the movie I saw. But in the people who are in organized crime, they are very fearful. They're being hated by people. Other people are very afraid of them. And they sometimes, they often use the fear to control others. And then they have some abnormal power that they get very upset. Sometimes they injure other people. Maybe most of us are not belong to organized crime, but then sometimes we act like the people in organized crime, like we get very upset. Very normal men become like do the domestic violence and beat the women, or like sometimes mother get very upset and beat the children's. We are often abnormal power came out from us and beating other weak person, and then we made the other persons with the fear to obey them. quite often they and then themselves is actually injured by themselves, and then they become sad and suffering, and there's no happiness because all of us feel that we are being slaved by Satan, evil spirit. Now Jesus asked name of this evil spirit. Why he did that? Probably I assume that Jesus wanted to reveal the evil spirit does exist by asking the name. Each evil spirit apparently has a name. And so Jesus asked, what's your name? And by saying that, and everybody, there's an eyewitness also in this incident, and those who are attending the pig, and also his disciples there. So actually, by asking the name of the evil spirit, Jesus actually revealing the evil spirit to the public, which is evil spirit don't like that at all, because by revealing the evil spirit, they know the evil spirit exists. If we know, and the Bible clearly indicates that there is an evil spirit does exist, that Satan does exist, and all the strange phenomena we see, like maybe ghosts, or probably like a UFO as well. Probably something to do with the evil spirit, because the ghost and evil UFO has some similarity, I would say. Both shine and fly in the sky and disappear and then try to make people fearful. And the one thing the UFO and the ghost try to do is try to make people away from the real God, Jesus. And because now people start to believe, oh, maybe there is space people or like so on, so on. So they start to have a fantasy. And they try to not think about the going to Jesus for help. So the evil spirit has been doing the same things, all the supernatural phenomena we may call, but that is an evil spirit behind. And also, evil spirit, they possessed. Now, do you remember the evil spirit possessed now this man, but also evil spirit now possesses the pig. Evil spirits often possess an animal as well, and then some animal, they kill people, and they're not supposed to be doing that way. But when those animals being possessed, apparently they do the evil things, and also the evil spirit often possess not only men but also the statue or sometimes dolls. Something looks like a human figure because evil spirit wanted people to worship them. The evil spirit wanted to make sure that you're going to worship angel. Well, evil spirit themselves are angel. For angel, it's kind of funny that humans who are made in the image of God bow down to the angel. It's almost like they're telling to God, see that this human who looks like you now bow down to me. It's almost like to angel the God is kind of bow down to angels. So the angel wanted to be worshipped. So some of the religions try to make sure that you believe worshiping angels, and often angel possess in a statue, so that people worship the statue is actually some cases worshiping to the evil spirit, even though the statue itself is just a rock and woods and stuff. But then the evil spirit sometimes may possibly possess, because evil spirit does exist, and we have to understand that all the strange phenomena may sometimes happen. And the one thing the evil spirit wanted to do is try to make people away from Jesus Christ. Now, this man who are possessed by evil spirit, he was screaming and suffering. Jesus heard that, and as Jesus came on the shore, this man ran to Jesus for help, and Jesus helped him by cast out evil spirit. I had to ask you today, that what do you think? Are you influenced by evil spirit today? Evil spirit telling you to hate Jesus, evil spirit telling you that they don't even exist, even though they are, and they're the one influence you, and they're the one actually influence you to be your own slave and are going to hurt yourself, and then there's no happiness and hope. If you don't have any happiness and hope, you may have been influenced by evil spirit. Come to Jesus. That's the only solution. With the power of divine power of God that you can be saved, and then come to Jesus. That's a solution that you have. Shall we pray? Lord, thank you for today's message. And evil spirit, it possessed this man and made this man so miserable. But Jesus, you saved him. Oh Lord, please save us as well. Many of us are influenced by evil spirit, in particular in this society. And many people are very much needed your help. And many people does not realize you are the real God. And many people don't realize the evil spirit does exist. Lord, please reveal the evil spirits that they exist. And also, Lord, please save many people so that they understand that you are the real God that is going to be able to save them. Lord, thank you for today's message. Just pray. Amen. Okay, take care. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.